Welcome back to Hannity. Now, earlier today, the 234 House Republicans held a closed-door meeting to talk about the hot-button issue of immigration reform. Now, Fox News has learned that cheers erupted when the leadership said they would not take up the Senate bill. And after today's private meeting, House Republican leaders put out a joint statement. Now, it reads, in part, quote, "Today, House Republicans affirm that rather than take up the flawed legislation rushed through the Senate, House committees will continue their work on a step-by-step, common-sense approach to fixing what has been a long broken system. The American people want our border secured, our laws enforced, and the problems in our immigration system fixed to strengthen our economy." And here's why this is important to you. House Republicans, they need to take a strong stand on the issue. That's why they were elected. And they need to listen to what you, the American people, want. And the decision by the leadership not to take up the Senate bill is a good first step. Second, we've got to remember, politicians have promised for years they would secure the border. It's the law of the land right now. It has not been done. And finally, comprehensive immigration reform is not an easy topic to tackle. Lawmakers take their time, get it right. That's simple. And joining me now with a reaction to this and much more, syndicated columnist, author Malkin. Reaction.
Well, I have to give my qualified applause and praise to the Republican House leadership for listening to their own base, their own staunch, conservative, pro-border security, pro-homeland security members. But I think that now it's time for the American people to launch what I call Operation Hold the Line and Stiffen the Spine, because I think we've gone through this enough times on Capitol Hill to know that there is a penchant to go wobbly when there are forces on both the big business right and on the grievance-mongering left, the open borders lobby left, and when those alliances conspire to weaken the will of those House Republican leaders, we really need to raise our voices even more and make sure that this process is deliberative and transparent, and that anything that comes out of it is rooted in the Constitution and the rule of law.
All right. Congressman Hulskamp said the only consensus was on border security first. John Boehner, he did in conference say any bill that comes out of the Senate conference, the Hastert rule applies, meaning a majority of Republicans would have to support it. That, to me, is a very good thing, but I wanted to get your reaction.
Well, once again, I do have to have a corrective here, and I think that in Washington, if people are really serious about making sure that our sovereignty is protected and that self-preservation and the mission, ongoing eternal mission of the federal government to provide for the common defense, we have to get rid of this platitude of border security first. As I have said many times, it is border security, period. Border security is not some bargaining chip or some box that you just check off and say, okay, it's done now, and now let's have, it's not conditional on anything, okay? It's not a means to the end. It is the end. It is the basic core function of government. And, you know, what you have here are these gang of aiders, especially the Republicans, your McCain and Graham and Rubio, who continue to be deluded into thinking that this is something that they can give away and get something in return and appease all of these people who think that the ultimate goal is building a pathway to citizenship for 20 million illegal aliens. No, that is not the fundamental goal of our government, and it shouldn't be of any Republican who's worth his salt.
What did you think of the comments by Speaker Boehner and Congressman Paul Ryan arguing to the conference that they would be in a much weaker position if they failed to act?
You know what? They really just need to enforce the laws that are already on the book and resist mightily this pressure to basically Obamacare-ize immigration policy. So the statement that they put out, I think, is very reassuring, but I've heard enough from people behind the scenes, House Republicans on the Hill, who have been staunchly for ensuring that we abide by the Constitution and that we make sure that we are doing right by the people who follow the law and are doing it the right way. Any kind of quote-unquote immigration reform has to recognize that that the goal is immigration control, that it is up to our country to decide and to do it in a deliberate way who gets in, who stays out, and to make sure that people who don't belong here are kept out. If you look at every door into this country, the front door, the back door, the revolving door, they're all busted. And so we don't say, well, you know, we can fix all of this, just wait a couple of years, we've got this grand scheme now, and just trust us. No, 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 no. I think the default has to be distrust, because we can't even do the basic things. For example, and I think this is hopefully what the House Republican leadership understands now, in their statement, they said that we need a step-by-step common sense approach. Start with one thing and prove you can do it. The entry-exit system, which they had promised and passed into law 6 times over the last 17 years and have yet to produce. No, do one thing, prove it.
The border by law now should be secure. All right, you said border security, period. And, yes. And we have the right as a country to sovereign borders. All right, assuming, and that's a big assumption here, we're talking about politicians, assuming they get the job done. What about the people that are in this country illegally? What would Michelle Malkin do?
Well, I think let's just have this fantasy land that border security is achieved. Okay, that's not the only thing that we have to do to secure the homeland. There's an entire visa and entry-exit system.
But assuming those things get done, what do you do with the people that didn't enter this country, obey our laws and our sovereignty? What do we do with them?
See, well, guess what? You wait. You wait until America's house is in order, and you count your blessings that it's so dysfunctional that the government hasn't caught up to you, and you do what you do, and we do what we do, and we try and get the government to do the right thing by the people who have followed the law. There are millions of people waiting and who have applied. There are 600,000 people who have been ordered deported who have yet to be deported, and of course there are 11 million people out of work who should take priority over the 30 million people who are here illegally.
All right,
period.
Michelle, great to see you.
You
Thanks.
bet.
All right.